All right. Hey, you guys. Today I'm going to be making a bit of a transparent video, kind of weighing my options here and showing everything that I could possibly do in this situation regarding my art education and stuff like that. So now that I have my tablet, I'm going to be using this to just kind of draw like a little chart because I have mainly like three options. And the first option is, let me make this pen a little smaller. First option is Singapore, right? So, and this means like, FZ, we'll just say FZD, right? So we have Singapore, we have California. I know my handwriting isn't bad, but please excuse my handwriting. You know, it's kind of like a thing we have to say. Even though our handwriting isn't necessarily bad, you know, we just kind of have to acknowledge that that it could be, it could be, I guess. I don't know. So we got California, and this is like Brainstorm. And then I guess you could say / like boot camps. Okay. And then the last one is kind of completely self-taught. So we'll say self-taught. And self-taught means basically like I could take online classes and stuff like that. So we'll just say boot camps. But trust me, the California plan is a little different than this one. And I'll get into that once we get to it. So we'll start with Singapore, right? So let's look at we'll say the pros and the cons. Trying to make this a little interesting, okay? So the pros of going to Singapore. We'll just kind of put like a little wavy thing right there to kind of separate the two. So the pros of going to Singapore is the education, right? It's a very well-known school for having, graduates that come out really good. Another pro would be, it's kind of like you have that time. So you have time on your side. And what I mean by that is like you have the time to dedicate towards studying and without distractions, basically. You when you take out a loan to go to a whole nother country, chances are you're going to take out a loan to have your living expenses and everything covered as well. Which brings up the immediate con of cost, right? So we got cost. What's another con, right? Let's see. It's more expensive, I guess. I mean that falls into the cost category. So these are the main things that come to mind. Now, as we go through, like maybe I'll have more come to mind. But basically you're getting pretty good quality education. You have access to a lot of time to dedicate towards learning. And chances are you won't have any distractions, which kind of falls under time, so we'll say just no distractions. Okay, so now let's go to California. Oh wait, no. Well, cost is kind of broad. So we have we'll bring it down. We got school costs. We got school costs, rent costs, or not even rent. We'll just say cost of living. High cost of living. Oh, whoops. And by cost, we're talking about essentially $55,000 to $60,000 here. So that's what we're talking. Like that's the kind of money that we're talking there. Now keep in mind, like just because you might be planning to go to FCD school or something like that, it does not mean that you don't have any access to like online courses or online, resources. One of the biggest resources that I use right now is KNKL Show. I think that guy has a lot of crazy tips that are really good. This is how you say it, just KNKL. That dude is amazing. I definitely recommend you guys check him out, especially if you're interested more in the style of drawing, like anime characters and stuff like that. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Okay. So with the California plan. Okay. Oh, and another con that's in another country. Okay. Okay, so here we got the pros and cons. Now, this one's kind of going to be a little iffy because one of the biggest pros is that the cost. These classes are pretty much super affordable. They're not like, you know, thousands of dollars, but at the same time, another con is actually the cost as well. So it's kind of like a neutral, and I'll get to that after I list everything else. So it's kind of like a pro and a con in a way. Another pro is that you're still getting that education. You're not, you know, you're gonna have interactions with your teachers, the people teaching you, and you can get a lot of feedback actively. One of the cons is kind of, I guess you could say, like how much fewer hours you're getting, you know, out of the class. Essentially, like, but I won't put that there because it is kind of it's kind of based on the person, not so much how many hours you get. It's kind of how you absorb the information. Another con, and I'll explain all that stuff too. And then the self-taught is kind of iffy as well. Now this is my first time doing this, so like I didn't plan this out at all. So I'm sorry if I'm like leaving things out. I'm probably leaving a lot of stuff out, but if I go and look up the Brainstorm school right now, so we'll go ahead and pull this up right now. Okay. So we'll say, let's see, they have 4, 8, 12, 16, 24, 28, 32 classes. We'll pull out the calculator and we'll just take the overall average of the classes being around like 830. We'll just say like 830 times 32. So if you wanted to take all of their courses, right, this is running you $26,000. So we'll go ahead and write that down. So this will cost, whoops. And honestly, the cost is kind of a con, because like, I mean, that's still now it's kind of a pro at the same time too, though, because you do get to choose exactly which courses you want to take. And then you have to take into consideration too that each one of these courses are 5-week courses. From what I've heard, oh, some of these are 10-week courses too. That meet, let me see, that meet 3 hours a day for 10. So I kind of wish I did the math on this before I started making the video. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right here while I, you know, do some I'm gonna run some calculations and kind of look everything up. You guys know I love to do that, and I'll keep all the math on the screen so like you guys can see what I came up to. So I'll be right back. Hey, so I'm editing this. I just wanted to let you guys know, like, variables are a thing. Things do change. Prices change. There's obviously like different places that you can go for rent that cost different amounts. Hopefully you guys realize that. I just want to say, like, do not plan your budget strictly to how I did these things, because the only thing that's probably that might be consistent over like months or years is literally none of it, actually. You know, it's just a way, it's just showing you guys some of the benefits of being able to do these things and kind of letting you guys know how I calculated everything myself. And yeah, I do know that Brainstorm is online right now, and that's definitely a big like thing to take advantage of. My only reason for not being able to do it is because I don't have any money. And my grandparents just got me this drawing tablet, and the last thing I want to do is go back to my grandparents and be like, hey, like, I know you just got me this $500 tablet, but or drawing pad, but hey, can you spare like $600 so I can go to class? Like, I really don't want to do that. So yeah, that's my reason. And not only that, but I do have a lot of responsibilities that I have to take care of, so I don't exactly have the time to be able to sit for 5 hours without being interrupted, unless I, spoke to my grandparents about it. But even then, I'd have to get the money from elsewhere. I don't have the money on me right now. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope this helps. Peace. So, courses, and this is including the registration fee. So we'll just say fee because that's a lot to, read and everything. So $22,855. Now this is how much it costs flat out, and this is how many hours you'd be paying for. So this is exactly how many hours you would be getting out of your class time. That's how many hours you're getting in your class. Now if you divide 22,855 by the amount of hours that you'd be spending in each one of these courses. Now this does not include being outside and studying and stuff like that. That doesn't include that. If you take that and divide it by the hours, you get $28.60 per hour that you're spending to go to this class. Which, I mean, to some people, this obviously you want to know these things. And if you're in college right now, this is how much money that you waste every time you miss a class. So those days where you feel sick or like you feel like crap and you really don't want to go to class, this is how much that's costing you. So if you have a 3-hour class, you can do the math and find out exactly how much money you're wasting essentially by the cost of the education. I know a lot of people aren't really into the numbers, but I hate math. I hate math. But when it comes to budgeting, this is like, I love doing this. It's just, I don't mind it at all, because this is essentially everything that's going to dictate how much debt you're going into for what you're doing. And it's exactly, you get to see the numbers. Like, if I wanted to break it down with all the information I have right here, I can calculate how much money I'm spending a second in the class. And all you would have to do is divide, so you would have to, if you're getting this per hour, if this is what you're paying per hour, all you have to do is divide that by 60, and then that's how much money you're spending per minute. And then divide that by 60 again, and that's how much money you're spending for the class per second that you're in there. Which is probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 50 cents or 25 cents or something like that, which is insane to me. So every time you put your head down or you like doze off to sleep or something like that, you basically just you bought in Arizona, like your favorite brand of Arizona. You bought that, you opened it up, you smelled you had your hand on the can. It's nice and cold, you smell it. I don't know why I smell food sometimes before I eat it or drink it. Okay, I'm weird. You smell it, it's like, dang, like that smells so good. And right before you put it up to your lips, you just throw it away. That's essentially like, hey, that's what that is. That's why you have to take these things so seriously, because this is money that you're wasting whenever that happens. Like, it sounds like a joke, but it's true. So yeah, that's how much you would be spending per hour. And if you, now for the cost of living, this is where the cost ends up being a con. And the reason why I have it on both a pro and a con is because if you live in California with parents or something like that, this school is a major con. Major pro. You don't even have to, you can take that out completely as far as living expenses go if you have nice parents, right? Hell, they probably even pay for the whole thing for you. Who knows? But if I go down to, let's say, the rent. So for every 2 courses, right? Now I only did this for all of the 30-hour courses. If you guys are curious, the courses that they offer the most are like 30 hours. You get 30 hours out of the class, and it'll normally cost like $760. $766. This is the one. This is the trend that I saw the most. So that's how most classes cost. The cheapest one was creature design, I think, for 416 for 15 hours. So if that matters to you guys, there you go. Those are that. That's the most expensive. So that's the most expensive, and that's the cheapest. I'll be right back because my grandmother's calling me. So, okay, I'm back. So back looking at this this actually, that is not the most expensive class. I don't know where I put my pen for this, but sorry guys, bear with me. Okay, so the most expensive class is actually, sorry if you guys are like writing this stuff down with me. The most expensive class is actually story development at so it's at $916 for 30 hours. So, and that's the story development, and the cheapest is creature design. It's something like that. So, I mean, if that's interesting information, I'll just keep that right here. I'll just move it kind of down here, so at least you know the price range. But most of them end up being, most end up being $766 for 30 hours of class time. 10 weeks, once a week for 5 hours, or no, for 3 hours. So 10 week, and then once, and then 3 hours a week. 3 hours per week. Now the biggest thing, and I'll write this in red, so it's kind of easier to see. So if you were to take, now it's basically educational suicide trying to take more than 2 of these classes at a time. So on average, you'd be taking about 2 of these classes. Chances are, since most of these classes are 10-week, 3 hours a day courses, you're gonna have to pay 2 months worth of rent. Even if you took like a 10-week and a 5-week. Why? Because after that 5-week is done, you still have 5 more weeks for your other one. So that's 2 months. Now, I found apartments. Now, I didn't search exactly like everywhere, but I found apartments that were about, let me see, because I gotta look back at the calculator just to make sure that I'm not tripping. All right, so I found apartments for one person that are $17.90 a month. So rent, we'll put this at rent, and we'll make it a little bigger. So rent would be Let me look back at the calculator. My bad, guys. Okay, yeah. So it's $17.90. $17.90 a month. Per month. Now, if you were someone that wanted to only take the 10-week courses and 2 of them at a time, there's a total of 24 10-week courses, which means that if you take that and divide it by 2, you have 12. You basically have 12 semesters of 2 of these, 12 semesters of 2 10-week courses at a time. So if you do that math, essentially for every semester, you're spending $35.80 per 2 months. Per 2 months, and this is adding up times 12. Times 12. Times 12. So essentially, this would take you 2 years. Just to do the, I think actually, the 6, yeah, that's, yeah, so that's 2 years for all of the 30 for these courses. For all of these courses, that's how much you're paying for rent if you take 2 at a time. So that times 12 comes out to $42,960. My grandmother called me again, dude. Are you kidding me? Okay, so yeah, I'm back now, obviously. But yeah, so 42,960 for 2 years. Now this is only a handful, because there's still, after all 30 or all 24 of these classes, let me see, because there's 24 of these. So there's 24 of those. There's 32 courses in total. So you still have 8 more courses that you would have to take. So that's essentially, I mean, you divide that by 2, you get 4. And then that's essentially 2 more terms, I guess you could say, that you would be doing with 2 classes each. And those alone probably, you know, yeah, those alone are probably, let me check, because I do have a whole list. Like I went through and wrote every amount of hours for each course, because sometimes they vary. Sometimes they're, yeah, so the rest of them are pretty much like 15 hours, 24 hours, 25 hours. So you got 2, 4, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. So wait, that means no, so that means there's only 28 classes. Let me see. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. Yeah, so there's 28 classes actually. So that leaves 4 classes. So that's essentially 2 terms. So we'll just erase this whole part. 2 terms. Which is essentially like 2 months. 2 months that you would have to, 2 terms, 2 months each. 4 months, that's 4 months. So you would multiply this cost by 4, because this is the cost of you staying for 2 months. This is the cost of a term, basically. So cost of term. We'll have this like circled in blue, so like you can at least, so it's not, like I said, this is the expensive, and that's the cheap ones. So yeah, that's basically the math. So I mean, even if you only added like, but there is definitely a benefit. Now with all of this calculating the con, which is the price, there is the big benefit of you being able to go at your own pace. So pace is definitely a benefit. That's a big benefit. That's a huge benefit, because that means that you don't have to do all of this at once. You could take one class, take a couple months to absorb that information after you finish it, and then you can go back and do, you know, you can go at your own rate. That's the best thing about these. And instead of being in like one, like, you know, 8-month semester or however long they are, and not being able to go at your own pace because you have so many projects. So with this one, you can quite literally control your workflow. You know, you have more control. We'll just say that. These are 2 very big ones, because without these two can be very, well, the education can be very hard to absorb if the pace is just way too beyond what you're normally used to, basically. So yeah, I think this video is at like 18, maybe 15 minutes. Hopefully it's not too much longer than that, because I mean, a lot of people probably don't really care about stuff like this. But you guys can always count on me to, you know, look things up, and if I can find it, I'll do that. And the reason why Singapore is so intriguing, like so much of a, you know, main plan to me, is because the rent. Now, what that means is, like, say on Airbnb, right? On Airbnb, you have the people that post those rooms, and when you want to stay somewhere and it's for a long time, you get what's called a stay discount. So like, or it's not called a stay discount, but just call it that, because you're staying there for a longer period of time. You get a percentage of that cost off. So essentially, a room that would cost, you know, 1100 Singaporean dollars, normally it would cost you, it would probably run you for like 800, which if you convert that to USD, it's somewhere around like maybe like low 700, high $600 a month to stay in that house or stay in that apartment, which is way cheaper. And that's a month, and that's way cheaper than this. So this is the rent. I don't want everything to be so hard to find on here. So that's the rent. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things, because that not only saves you money, but like that money that would be going towards something else like food or whatever, it's you can essentially put more time to it. And I have done a video like on the cost of what it cost me to go to Singapore. I didn't do it as detailed as this one where I was drawing everything on the screen, but this is essentially how California works. It's just an expensive ass place. So if you wanted to, like, just for this sake, right? You really want to go to Brainstorm for 2 years. You don't live in California. You live in like Ohio or like Alaska or some random state like that. You would add up 22,855 plus 42,960. You're at $65,815, and this is excluding. So we'll put the total in green. No, that's kind of hard to see. Okay, so total, and this is excluding. This is excluding food and transportation. We'll put it like right here. Food, transportation, miscellaneous items like, I don't know, toothpaste, toothbrush, toilet paper, deodorant. Who knows what things that could come up that you might need. So the total to go to that school for 2 years is $65,815, excluding food, transportation, and all those other things like phone bills, all that stuff, internet, because that's something that you'd have to get. Whereas like